Take a look at this clip. That this is how good my aim is on a day-to-day basis. And despite most of the Immortal level players that I encounter don't shoot anywhere near that good on a daily basis. Now, take a look at these two clips from two other players. At first glance, for a low elo player, it may be hard to tell one from the other, but for a higher ranked player, it would be very plain and simple to see which player is the better aimer. You see, the clip on the left is actually a gold player, while the clip on the right is a pro player. You see, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to aim, there are endless ways to approach and improve. As someone who has spent countless years training my aim, using everything from the range, deathmatch, trainers, Roblox, etc., let me tell you, I've seen it all and I've tried it all. And over these countless years of me focusing on hitting a single pixel on a screen, I've managed to acquire what some would consider high-level aim, possessing a headshot percentage over 46% with the Vandal for competitive, and an overall headshot percentage over 56% in team deathmatch. One can say I might be able to teach you a thing or two to truly improve your aim in this game. Now, let it be known that some of the secrets I will share with you in this video are some that are truly hard for me to just expose to the world, given how beneficial they are and have been for me. And it is exactly for that reason that I highly suggest dropping a sub if you're new here and joining the Discord so you can be a part of a healthy learning environment where we expose all of the best secrets to ranking up in this game. Now, with that being said, I need you to understand a couple of important things about aiming in this game. To put it as simple as possible, there are 3 things you need to be aware of when aiming: crosshair placement, adjustments, and movement. Those 3 things are the core aspects to every good aimer. Once you are able to truly master all 3 of these elements to aim, you will find yourself skyrocketing through the ranks. So that begs the question, how can you actually go about mastering these techniques? Well, first, let's get the easiest one out of the way: crosshair placement. Now, although this is the easiest of all 3, almost all ranks, high and low, still struggle with this. And to properly train this aspect, you have to fully understand the core elements to it. So, if you find yourself in a lower elo, your main objective when it comes to improving your crosshair placement should be to go into a deathmatch. And like I mentioned in a previous video, just focus on having your crosshair at head level and changing locations from one area to another. If you spend an entire game doing just that for multiple games straight, you will eventually achieve what would be considered basic to good level crosshair placement. Now, if you find yourself in a bit of a higher elo and you feel that your crosshair placements are already pretty good, just know there is a high chance that there is still room for improvement. For somewhat higher elo players, you need to start thinking of crosshair placements as more of a predicting how your opponents will peek you versus just placing it at head level. Having a more in-depth understanding of how the enemy will peek you will help you have your crosshair placement ready at all times, and the adjustments will be far, far easier. But for that, you need to truly understand all of the different types of peaks that exist and what conditions each peak relies on. I do plan on making an in-depth peeking guide in a future video. Now that we've gone over crosshair placement, let's take a look at the next core element to aiming: adjustments. Now, in this game, there are technically 2 different types of adjustments. There are the ones you make while you are strafing and the ones you make while you're standing still. The adjustments that you make while you're strafing can be attributed to movement aim, as most of the time, your movement will be doing most of the work. However, to truly master your raw aim potential, you must learn to tap heads without having to move side to side. This aspect is certainly the harder aspect of aiming to master, yet probably the most valuable once fully learned. The reason for this is because although movement aim tends to be more consistent, your raw aim ability can cut down the time it takes to get your opponent versus someone who is solely relying on their movement to get you. Having perfect adjustments and tracing of the enemies will allow you to win fights so much faster. And the best ways to truly improve in this aspect are the following. You hop into a range, turn on 50 bots, turn strafe on. Now you want to move a little bit more back, and you want to track the heads of the bots while they are moving, and tap them the instant that they stop. You want to do this every day before you play, at least once a day, and you will notice a significant difference in your gameplay. But it does not just end there. Eventually, once you've mastered this and you're able to get all 50 bots, once they stop, without missing a single one, you want to then take it to another level. What is that level, you ask? Well, here is where, instead of waiting for the bot to stop, you start tapping their head while they are mid-movement. Now this is certainly a higher level skill, which even Radiants would probably struggle with. But it's definitely worth trying and worth practicing, because at the end of the day, the harder you're practiced, the easier the games. And keep in mind, if this is something you haven't done before, then you may find it to be very difficult. And that is actually a good thing. You need to understand that the hard work should always be in training. You want to force yourself to go through the hardest training possible, so that in the game, everything becomes easy. Now after you do this drill, you want to go into a deathmatch, and instead of moving side to side to finish your opponents, try working on your raw adjustments by stopping completely the moment you see an enemy, and then just focus on tapping the head. This may take time to master, but eventually, you will have this aspect of the game down, and the gunfights aspect will become so much easier once you do. Now, the last and final core aspect to aim would be movement aim. So, in theory, if you really wanted to, you could let go of your mouse completely aside from the left click and use your movement alone to move your crosshair from nowhere to somewhere, and then tap the head of your opponents. However, in reality, due to the existence of raw standing aim, this becomes near impossible, since players will snap to your head before you can rely on your movement alone. However, believe it or not, you could very well use a mix of only crosshair placement and movement aim to win fights. Typically, to only rely on these two aspects would require extensive knowledge of good crosshair placement and a very, very low sensitivity to where you do not accidentally micro-adjust mid-fight. The idea is, if your crosshair is already positioned very well in an area the opponent will peek, when they do peek, it's only a matter of your movement lining the shot up to take care of your opponents. However, this playstyle, is not very practical in game, as there are a lot of unknown factors, and your opponents, who depending on the elo, may have mastered all the other elements, will have an advantage over you, since you'll be only using crosshair placement and movement. So that arises the question, if that's the scenario, then what is the best aspects of aiming to truly master? Well, the answer would be all of them. I personally believe that movement aim is extremely important, however, only truly impactful when accompanied by good raw standing aim. So this raises the question, you know what to do to get good crosshair placement, and you know what to do to get good raw standing aim, but how do you master movement aim? There are two different drills that are rather quite popular. So, I will not be taking any credit for the stuff shown on the movement aim side of things. These are drills that I have seen from other coaches. The first one is a strafe drill, where you shoot 2 bullets as marker points, and strafe to one side, tap, then strafe to the other, tap. You want to start off slow and practice this until you get to the point where you are essentially able to go back and forth seamlessly without ever having to stop to readjust your aim. Meaning that ideally, when someone has mastered this movement mechanic, they would be able to consistently do this without ever having to stop to adjust their movement or aim. Second best way to work on your movement mechanics would be to go into a deathmatch and only hold your mouse to readjust from crosshair placement to crosshair placement. However, once you see an opponent, focus only on allowing your movement to get your crosshair to the opponent's head before tapping away. If you follow those two scenarios, you'll find that your movement will increase. If you follow those two scenarios and do this consistently, I am very sure that you'll find that your movement aim will become 10 times better in no time. Now that we've gone over all three of the core mechanics to aim, crosshair placement, raw standing aim, and movement aim, you should have quite a lot of things to work on. And I hope that all these tips truly help you rank up fast. Don't forget guys to come join us on Discord. I offer high quality coaching for a really good price, if you're serious about ranking up that is. And we also have tons of activities constantly going on, so please go to the description or the pinned comment. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed the video and take care.